Workers who've taken their first ever strike action in 106 years. That's the Royal College of Nurses. Antonia Berelson has been part of the activist grouping. She didn't just lead the strike, but she's been part of the activist network within the RCN and the health service that overturned a recommended shit deal from the leadership of the RCN. So they're back out on strike tomorrow. Antonia.
How wonderful to be here in Hastings today, Mugsborough, the southeastern home of resistance, proudly flying the flag of solidarity for all striking workers, trade unions, activists, for migrants and refugees, and proof that collectively we can have the power to effect change. And I'm proud to be here as an activist for Nurses United and the RCN to speak about this crisis within the NHS. A crisis brought around by successive governments' failure to defend the NHS. Decades of managed decline and political negligence means our NHS is on life support. When the very healthcare workers who were applauded by this government during the pandemic have been so desperate and determined to take the drastic action of industrial action, the very healthcare workers that risk their lives to answer the call of duty, to nurse in a pandemic of an unknown pathogen with inadequate PPE, who at the beginning had nothing in their arsenal to treat patients with, who saw unimaginable suffering and lost colleagues. And yet, this very workforce has seen over 12 years of pay restraint, meaning our pay is essentially 30% less than it used to be. Schrodinger's nurses, not important enough to be paid properly, but too important to strike. In fact, this government would rather take the nurses to court. They prefer a courtroom to a negotiating table. Shame on them. It's a crisis in staffing with 47,000 nurses short and no magic nurses tree. 50% of the nursing population due to retire in the next 10 years, and nursing student applications falling by 20%. A crisis exacerbated by the callous disregard with which the full nursing bursary was removed, leaving students with at least £50,000 worth of debt. It's a crisis where we recruit overseas nurses, some from red-list countries, but they arrive faced with a hostile environment, strict visa restrictions, spiralling prices. Many, understandably, decide to go to other more welcoming countries with better pay. We both in health and in social care owe such a debt to our overseas workers. Yeah. And to quote the great Dennis Skinner, as he said, "I've had a United Nations heart bypass. I had it in a London hospital. I had a Malaysian surgeon, a Nigerian registrar, and a Dutch doctor. I told the UKIP man, if you send all these people back from whence they came, half of London would be dead within a week." The workforce crisis led to the Royal College of Nursing balloting members for the industrial action, and for the first time in its 106 years history, it went out on the picket line. It certainly wasn't an easy choice for nurses, but it was a right and moral choice, as part of our professional duties expose the fact that our patients and staff are suffering. We could no longer stay silent. We saw our colleagues burnt out and demoralised. Nurses can no longer tolerate being on a financial knife edge at work and a raw deal at home. It's a political choice not to pay the workers a fair wage. After all, there was 36 billion for the failed track and trace, 200 million for Michelle Moan for PPE that ended up being inadequate and burnt, or even the 4.3 billion written off by Sunak on COVID fraud that he decided not to pursue. which all pales into insignificance compared to the 31 billion estimated to be lost to the Tory Brexit deal. But with every dispute with our workers, it's not just about pay, it's a wider context that in order for good patient outcomes, we need safe staffing ratios, experienced staff, knowledge accumulated through years of working. For as Pat Cullen said, patients aren't dying because nurses are striking. Nurses are striking because patients are dying on ordinary non-strike days. Overstretched, nurses leaving in droves, fearful to practice in such unsafe working conditions. Many nurses finish their shifts feeling they failed to be the nurse they trained to be, intolerable workloads, unremitting stress, missing lunchtimes, finishing late. The NHS for many years has run on the goodwill bank of its workers, but the bank has run dry. A predominantly female workforce had been gaslit for years saying because it's vocation they shouldn't be asking for a pay rise. After years of being undermined, neglected and underpaid, nurses not only found their voices on the picket line, but we found strength in sharing our collective struggle, shared stories from the front line and determination to fight for a better future. We realised our voices mattered. Pat Cullen entered negotiation with Tories and came back to the rank and file membership with an offer that failed to address the years of pay restraint or match inflation. Despite RCN counsel and Cullen advising we accept the deal, the newly politicised nurses, along with the more experienced trade unions, voted to reject. Yay! And this is through grassroots organising from Nurses United and NHS Workers Say No, cross-union organisation. The fact we're able to mobilise, get the vote out and reject the shoddy deal shows how key organising is. Not only that, the powerful movement across England reminds me of the movement that Jeremy Corbyn inspired. But just as in physics, it is shown that energy never dies, so that energy and hope that was inspired by Jeremy Corbyn can be and has been transferred to the trade union movement. As Harry Belafonte, may he rest in power, said, you can page the singer, but not the song. Crisis, a word used so frequently to describe the state of things, the NHS, mental health, the cost of living. Remember that the Greek word for crisis comes from sift, or separate, a decision, a choice. To sift, to shake out the excess and leave what is important. That's what crises do. They shake things up until we're forced to hold on to what really matters the most, the rest falls away. And so indeed, the NHS is more than the buildings, more than our greatest institution. It's its people, and no more so than its doctors, its nurses, its physiotherapists, its porters, its cleaners, its radiographers, and many more, but also the patients, cradle to grave. The NHS, fast approaching its 75th birthday, formed in the transformative years of the Attlee government, is the very best of us. And so, like in gold panning, how we sift through the particles to find the treasure beneath, so now we can find through this crisis our shared humanity to fight for the next 75 years. And we do this by recognising our strength. The government and their media will try to divide us, but we must stand together as a collective, working across unions, raising awareness and recognising our class solidarity. When our world is led by leaders ahead of the headlines, the voices who are first on the front line, these leaders who stand up knowing the wind, not by where it is, but where it is blowing, leading worlds not by how society is, but where change is going. Thank you.